It's a lie. LGBT people have been in Africa and around the world before white people came to Ghana. They were the ones, or to the area now called Ghana, they were the ones who made homosexuality illegal because they were exposed only to a binary existence and their religion. So they are talking about foreign influence, but they do not know that homophobia is the foreign influence. And now the people supporting FOH Amwanin and these MPs, behind them is this World Congress people, which are also foreigners and are being banned from several countries for using hate and homophobia to push their agenda.
Let me ask this though. Have you seen the bill at all, the proposed bill? Have you read bits and pieces of it? And what are your thoughts on it?
I have. My thoughts on it. Okay, so first of all, they talk about, I want us Ghanaians to know that this bill affects all of us, whether you are heterosexual, whatever you identify as. This bill can be used against you in its current form, its current standing. You are not allowed to use sex toys. You are not allowed to watch certain pornography that involves threesomes and so on and so forth. You are not allowed to do heterosexual doggy styles. There's so many things in there which will affect everybody, not LGBTQ people only. And I want to know how the government is going to make sure these sexual practices are not happening. Are they going to put cameras in everybody's bedroom? Is this what we want as Ghanaians, for them to monitor every aspect of our life? How, right now, we all know that, some of us, but I know personally, sometimes police plant marijuana on some people and pretend like it was on them to collect bribe. What is going to stop a corrupt police person from just telling somebody they are gay or they've caught them kissing another person, so they are arresting them? How would they prove that this is true or not? So this bill is very dangerous for the average Ghanaian, and it needs to be scrapped, not changed in some other form or anything. They need to put it aside and deal with the corruption going on. The flying showers, the 70% increase in salary, the COVID money wasted by the health minister. Those are where we need to focus. The government is using this LGBT thing to distract us from what all the bad things they are doing.
Okay. One thank you for those opening remarks there. That was one of the Kobolo giving us his opening comments on that proposed bill. Let's hear now from Rosalind. Rosalind Mode is the board. She's a board member for the LGBTQ plus Rights Ghana Humanists International. Rosalind, good afternoon. Thanks for joining us. I'm first seeking your general impressions of the bill as has been proposed, and then also the commentary that has come on the back of that bill. In fact, we've had a member of the Pentecost Church, a leader of the Pentecost Church, describe the act of homosexuality as glorified foolishness and how Ghanaians should not even tolerate it any longer.
Yes, thank you for this opportunity.
Right.
Honestly, I don't know how else to put it, but anything of hate is just what it is. Let's just say that's what it is. It's hateful, it is inhumane, it is all these bigoted statements. The entire bill is full of fallacious statements, emotional stuff, not based on any form of scientific evidence. It is total nonsense. That is where it's coming from. A lot of it is just coming from that rhetoric of Ghana is a Christian nation. Ghana is not a Christian nation. Ghana is not a Muslim nation. Ghana is not a traditional nation. Ghana is a secular country. And everyone of different various beliefs and who have their rights to their beliefs are in this country. You cannot take somebody's doctrine or their supposed deities mentionings to govern a whole country when not everyone believes in these things. At the end of the day, we need to start really focusing on the separation of church and state. A lot of these fallacious statements don't come from anything scientific. And I'm hoping that the Ghana Science Association comes up to give a statement about these things. The mention of it being of a mental illness. First of all, the WHO, who we are looking up to help deal with this COVID situation that we are going through, is the same body, the same international body, which has stated in 1990, way back, that they have removed it as from the list of mental illness It is not a mental illness to be a lesbian, gay, bisexual, or transsexual person. I don't know how many times they say that. The fact that they want to clamp down on all activists, whether you are a heterosexual ally or not. This is like my brother said, this is not about just LGBT people or the allies. It's about every Ghanaian. Not only what he mentioned, but the bill is basically going to criminalize even fashion sense. So if you are a lady and you are wearing trousers or a tie, you could be arrested because somebody suspects you of being lesbian or bisexual. If you are a man, you are wearing skinny tights, or you are wearing an earring, you could, or anything that is supposed to be the stereotypical ways of fashion of a gay person, then you are also going to face that. And these are so many issues. I think that it's definitely a misplaced priority because there are so many more serious issues that are going on in this country, especially during a pandemic. We should be focusing on rather than this is a complete distraction from the issues. And I don't know where this is coming from. I mean, the World Congress of Families is a hate group. It has been banned in so many countries. They have tried so many times to appeal certain laws, even in the US, in New York, and they failed. They failed badly, and they have been trying to promote and export this hate under the cover of Christianity and love. There's nothing loving about homophobia. It is a hate agenda, and we should discard of everything about this bill. It should definitely be buried.
All right, that's fine, Rosalind. Thank you. Let me hear from Alex now. Alex Kofi Donko is the director for LGBTQ Plus Rights Ghana. You remember him because he was in the news for quite some time. After he was arrested, he was sought after by national security and the like. His office that was set up to be a safe space for anybody who felt intimidated by persons over their sexuality. That place was shut down and he came under a lot of attacks subsequently. Alex, good afternoon. Thanks for joining us, and it's good to see you once again. We are talking about the proposed bill, which I hope you've perhaps had some time to look over. What are your general impressions of that bill? We'll delve into it in detail in a brief while, but I just need to know your general thoughts about it.
Okay, thank you so much. Let me correct this. I wasn't arrested.
They didn't arrest you. Okay.
I would want to. I would want to correct.
But you were being sought after.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much. What I would say is that this bill, simply put, is horrifying and one that will subject a country like Ghana that is constantly striving to be open, diverse, and also the upholding of our democracy and the belief of tolerance and diversity sets back. And honestly, every Ghanaian should be appalled that some Western country in the 21st century can influence our society. And if I say our society, I mean some leaders to introduce a bill that divides us as a society and discriminates against other citizens because of their sexual orientation or their gender identity or their expression in terms of their way of dressing or even their speech, as in what they support.
We'll get some more views from our guests in a short while, but let's go now to the document which highlights most of the things the bill captures. And I think it's in we've summarized it in about 5 to 10 slides, and we're going to share it with you now and take you through. So if the first slide is ready, we'll put it up right now and take you through it so you begin to understand where the concerns are coming from. Now, this is the very first one as has been put up. The object of the bill is to provide for proper human sexual rights and Ghanaian family values, proscribe LGBTQ plus and related activities, prescribe propaganda of, advocacy for, or promotion of LGBTQIAAP plus and related activities, provide for the protection of and support for children, persons who are victims or accused of LGBTQIAAP plus and related activities, and other persons and related matters. Okay, that's on the first page of that very memo. If we go to page 19, it also talks about this. Now, according to Article 1 of the proposed bill, this act applies to a person, A, who holds out as a lesbian, a gay, a bisexual, a transgender, a transsexual, a queer, an ally, a pansexual, or a person of any other socio-cultural notion of sex or sexual relationship that is contrary to the socio-cultural notions of male and female, or the relationship between males and females. There's a continuation on the next slide. Now, questioning, that's this B now, questioning the sexuality of that person. C, who has a biological anomaly, including a person who is intersex. D, involved in the promotion of, propagation of, advocacy for, support or funding of LGBTQIAAP plus. E, who provides or participates in the provision of sex or gender reassignment, surgical procedure, or any other procedure intended to create a sexual category other than the sexual category of a person assigned at birth, except where the procedure is intended to correct a biological anomaly, including intersex. Or F, any person who engages in a sexual activity prohibited under this act. Okay. Then it goes on to say, Article 6 of the bill criminalizes sexual intercourse between same-sex, human and animals, and pansexuals, among others, and describes sexual intercourse as where A, now this is very important, so pay attention to this. A person penetrates the anus or mouth of another person with the penis of that person or other contraption. Or B, a person, by use of any object or contraption, penetrates or stimulates the vagina or anus of another person. Or C, a person, by use of a penis or any other object or contraption, penetrates the anus or other bodily opening of an animal for sexual gratification. Now, if you take a look at A and B, what it suggests is that for a number of you who may be interested in using sex toys to enhance your sexual experience, be it male to male or male to female or female to female, regardless, that is a crime. Okay. Now, it goes on to say that a person who engages in or participates in an activity that promotes or supports A, sympathy for an act prohibited under this act, or B, a change of public opinion towards an act prohibited under this act, commits an offense and is liable on summary conviction to a term of imprisonment of not less than 5 years and not more than 10 years. So if you even happen to be a sympathizer of a person who, for some reason, falls foul of this particular law, well, you too, you are in trouble. That is what this proposed bill is saying. Let's go on with a few more things the bill is suggesting. It says, per Article 7, a person who, A, through media, technological platform, technological account, or any other means, produces, procures, markets, broadcasts, disseminates, publishes, or distributes, or uses an electronic device, the internet service, a film, or any other device capable of electronic storage or transmission to produce, procure, market, broadcast, disseminate, publish, or distribute a material for purposes of promoting an activity prohibited under this act, commits an offense and is liable on summary conviction to a term of imprisonment of not less than 5 years and not more than 10 years. So, for those of you even watching this show right now, and for me hosting this show right now, depending on how it is interpreted, if someone is able to convince a jury or a judge that the show was done in a way to promote or advance the cause of LGBTQI plus persons, myself, I can even be in jail. That is what the bill is proposing. Okay, let's move on. The bill also talks about a few other things. Now, Section 15 of the proposed bill states that any group, society, association, club, or organization in existence before the coming into force of this act, whose purpose, whether partly, overtly, or covertly, is to promote, facilitate, support, or sustain in any way an act prohibited under this act is disbanded. So it's not just vigilantes we are disbanded. Now, if you are a group that was set up prior to the enactment of this particular bill, which they hope will become law, well, that group must be disbanded. And if you engage in any such act which will promote the group, you may be found culpable, may be put in jail for between, say, 5 years and 10 years or so. Okay, I think we'll wrap up in a short while. Let's take a look at 2 other slides. I think we have a few more slides, or that should be about it. Okay, there's one more here. So Section 17 of the bill, this is what it's talking about. It says a person who upon arrest, during police investigation, or at any time during incarceration for the commission of an offense under this act, recants and makes a voluntary request to access an approved medical help or an approved medical treatment, shall be granted access to the approved medical help or approved medical treatment. The cost for unapproved medical help or medical treatment under subsection 1 shall be borne by the person or any other person, including an approved service provider, on behalf of the person. So this is where the argument of the mental health comes in. So if the argument comes then that you are arrested and you say that, well, if you are diagnosing me of any such illness, in quotes, that you say I'm unwell, for which reason I prescribe as gay or lesbian or whatever, and so you are taking me to the hospital to give me treatment, I will have to pay for that treatment out of my own pocket even. That is what the bill is suggesting. Let's wrap up with that and move on to the next slide, which also talks about Section 23, and this is what it's suggesting. It says the ministry shall liaise with an approved service provider to provide assistance, A, in the form of therapy or any other assistance relevant to the circumstance, to a person who may be questioning the sexuality of that person, or for a parent whose child is intersex, in order to, where necessary, assist the parent realign the child to the appropriate binary designation as determined by a medical practitioner. Interesting. So this is a fair idea of what that bill seeks to do. And so for those of you who may not have seen, read, or even heard anything about it, this essentially is a summary of the proposed bill. And you have heard from our colleagues. One of the Kobolo has said quite a lot. We've heard from Alex also, who has said quite a lot. And then Rosalind has also suggested that, listen, there are better things to be focusing our attentions on, and not an LGBTQ plus law at this particular point in time. Okay. Before our other colleagues join us, I will have to play the devil's advocate, because it appears as though it's getting one-sided. So I would have to do that. So let me come to Alex. Alex, so we've suggested, among other things, that in the expression of our rights, people should not in any way put in place impediments or roadblocks in whichever way, shape, or form, including a law. But some will also say, in fact, the law suggests itself that the exercise of your rights ends where that of another person's begins. So, in such an instance, how do we draw the line? Could it be the case that in our bid to get our fair share of the cake, to suggest that, listen, do you say you want to be you say you want to be heterosexual, that's you. I am me, I want to be whatever, so please, allow me. But could it be the case, is it possible that we may be in one way or the other infringing on the rights of others, for which reason perhaps clarity of the law has been sought for? One of the reasons why Parliament is coming up with this?
Well, if that's the analogy in which we want to go, then I would rather draw your attention to the fact that in this country, LGBT persons are going through constant discrimination, violence, and then abuse. So if indeed that is what we want to go by, then I think we should be rather looking at laws that rather protect LGBTQ persons from the abuses that go on daily basis. And I'm saying this because even as at 2018, Human Rights Watch documented in details the abuses that LGBTQ persons go through up to now, no government agency, no MP, nobody has even taken a look or shown any form of interest to want to solve these discrimination or these abuses that we go through. So, and then we are also saying that we are a country that upholds the dignity of each citizens, all manner of its citizens. So why are other citizens being discriminated against on daily basis, and then the citizens equally screaming and talking about the fact that we are being discriminated against, yet we think that rather putting in place more strict measures or strict laws is what is going to solve anything. Rather, we are giving more legitimacy to other citizens to continuously abuse and continuously discriminate against LGBTQ persons and people who express
Alex,
their
the law is quite explicit on this. Now, the law does not in any way condone abuse of any sort, regardless of who is involved, be it physical or verbal. The law does not condone it, and so if you identify as LGBTQ plus and you are abused for any reason, the law does not prevent any authority, any state apparatus from investigating the issue and bringing the perpetrators to book. So there appears to be a disconnect there,
right? Yeah, but it is going on, right? So we have even within our law that no form of discrimination should be leveled against any citizens. Yet LGBTQ persons are constantly and continuously being discriminated against. So you realize that even the existing laws are not being implemented, and honestly, some of these discrimination are actually being perpetrated from even some state institutions that has been given mandate to protect every citizen. Like sometimes even coming from the police, right?
So
an example is the arrest of the whole 21, right? That some people were in spaces going through a training workshop that every Ghanaian go through on daily basis. Yet some people go through training workshop and then they are arrested and then put behind bars for 22 days for no substantive reason. These are the forms of discrimination that we are talking about, that even some state institutions are complicit in the discrimination that LGBTQ persons go through in this country.
So the setup itself is discriminatory to persons who are LGBTQI plus.
Exactly, because LGBTQ persons are always the scapegoats in this country. In every situation, we are always the scapegoats. And that is why even laws, this divisive laws that is coming from the West, they are targeting LGBTQ persons because they know that if they target LGBTQ persons, it can easily sail through and then it will be passed. And then it will also be the recipe for other laws to be introduced into the country.
But if the laws or the apparatus is set up against such persons, why would we not rather focus, yourself included, why would we not focus our attention on ensuring that the right things are done? Is it necessarily about fighting for additional rights, or is it about fighting for the enforcement of the existing rights?
If you listen to the conversations that activists and advocates have been saying all this while, you will realize that our conversation all throughout and all this while has been that LGBTQ persons are continuously and constantly being violated in this country, and so we should look at protecting all citizens of this country. There is nowhere that we stand to even say that we should give legitimacy to LGBT marriage whatsoever, to which the president said the last, and that hasn't been our narrative. If you listen to us all this while, we are saying that we are being abused on daily basis. How about we look at it and then solve it as a society, such that some people do not think it is okay to discriminate and violate LGBTQ persons?
Okay, thank you. Let me hear from One Love now. One Love, so there's this argument now, because a number of persons who identify as LGBTQ plus have suggested that it's a rights issue. You must not stop my right or prevent me from exercising my rights to be whoever I want to be and to do whatever I want to do. But the argument has been that no, it is not a rights issue, it's a preference issue. How do we deal with that, particularly in the context of existing law and also in the context of this new proposed law?
Well, the government has to take a humane and responsible stance to educate itself and educate the people of Ghana that being homosexual, being queer is not a preference. People are born that way. And also, sexuality is a personal issue. So whatever people are doing inside their rooms is up to them. Nobody is asking for the right to be having sex outside in public. And so, just based on that, it has to come from the government and agencies supported by the government to educate us all as Ghanaians about what queerness is and how it is not affecting us in any economical way, so that we can set that aside, live harmoniously, and start focusing on the real problems, like children sitting in classrooms with holes in the roofs and potholes full of water on the ground. Those are the things we need to be focusing on. Women giving birth on the floor in hospitals. We need to be focusing on, health, good education, roads. These are the things we need to be focusing on that help us all as Ghanaians. Putting LGBTQ people in jail is not going to help anybody, and all of us in the end are going to end up in jail, because hate is never satisfied. Once you eat small hate on somebody, you'll be sitting there and think of what are the next group of people you want to hate and do something to. And soon all of us will be in jail. The whole Ghana will be in jail, and just some few rich people will be sitting outside.
Okay. I hear you loud and clear, and the point where you make about everybody going to jail, I think resonates quite well with a number of people on social media, because I'm seeing comments about how people are saying, hey, blowjob and all are part of it and the like. So we'll come to your comments on social media also in a short while, and how the new law seeks to criminalize such acts also. But
I would like to say something to one of the points on the bill, which is very crazy.
Right.
There's an extradition section. Extradition is when you commit a crime and run to a different country,
you'll be extradited
they're able
back
to
the
pull
country.
you back. So they want to also use this with all the countries they have extradition agreements with, to also bring back people that are guilty of maybe going contrary to this bill that they want to pass. What is the danger in that? If somebody has fled the country for political reasons, for religious persecution, for life endangerment of some other sort, now somebody who wants to bring them back so that they can deal with them can now falsify a gay situation around this person and use that to pull this person back.
Oh,
so
but they would have to justify that. So it's not cast in stone.
How do you justify this? You see, that's the thing. When you say that, now let's look at how do you justify that somebody is having this anal sex or blowjob or using sex toys or watching orgy pornography movies? How do you justify
I mean,
this?
in my view, till the person openly comes out to suggest A, B, or C, or perhaps commit such an act in the open, it may be very difficult to.
Yes, but so what is the use for this bill if that is not happening? Because nobody has been having public sex for them to bring this bill. This bill is just about getting more control on human lives, and the only way they can enforce it, otherwise it's useless, then they should throw it away. Because
Don't you think it's really about cutting down on the issue of advocacy for some of these groups and the things they've been saying all of this while? Don't you think that's what the bill actually seeks to do? Because like you said, nobody really goes out in the open to do any of these sexual acts.
Yes. And this advocacy you are speaking of is just the LGBT community and other marginalized groups asking for equal rights in the society. It's not asking to be able to have public sex. They're not asking for that.
But then that is where the issue is. The issue of the rights. What rights do you seek? Because nobody is curtailing on anybody's rights based on the law. So Alex made mention of the abuse. And I said, the law is very specific on abuse. And it doesn't have preference for somebody who is heterosexual or another person who is homosexual. It's the law. It says anybody who is abused, whether verbally or physically, can take ABC steps. The law can do X, Y, Z. That is there. And so what rights are you actually seeking?
But so what we are seeing in that, and I hope Alex can come and add to that. For example, if somebody is trying to get a place to rent and the landlord is homophobic and sees that this person is effeminate, or they suspect they are a queer person, they can deny them based on that. And then,
but that's discriminatory, and again, the law makes provision for discrimination.
But you see, that is where it comes into place, that when they now go, because majority of the society is not being, hasn't been educated, which is part of the advocacy we are asking for, to know how to be accepting and empathetic to all sorts of people, from all walks of life. Because this is not part of our cultural fabric at the moment, people are being denied seats in the trotro, rent, jobs, to enter public spaces because of their perceived sexuality. So this is what the advocacy is for, that queer people are not having the equal rights that you are saying. It's there on paper, but it's not there in our activity. It's not there in real life.
Okay.
Look at what the police did to the whole 21. Until today, the whole 21 are still going all the way to Ho from different parts of Ghana to court for their case to be postponed again. This is serious abuse.
Okay. Rosalind, I've been speaking to One Love about this particular issue of rights, and he cites a number of instances of discrimination and the like. My argument is that the law as exists makes provision for all of these things. And so if it's our inability to enforce the law, let us tackle that. Let us not say that we should give additional rights to persons who identify as LGBTQ+. At another time, there may be another group, BBCCD, suggesting that, well, they also want additional rights, so we should give them those rights. Can you help us with that?
Yes. So what I will say on that is that there's this narrative that has always been propagated as if all these LGBT groups were formed to tell everybody that, it's okay to be gay and we want everyone else to be gay, or to try to be gay, or something like that. Like One Love said, it's not a preference. If it was a preference, I don't think a lot of people would like to go through all this discrimination and everything. If you can just choose and switch from being a lesbian or a gay person to being a heterosexual, a lot of people will be doing that. But unfortunately, it's not like
Rosalind, with that again, the argument, I'm saying I have to play the devil's advocate because the others are not yet on, so please bear with me if I do. But the point is, even in choosing a sex partner, whether same sex or whatever, so if it's two lesbians, it's still preferential in the sense that they would, even of the several ladies available, decide on which one particular lady they want to have any such intercourse with. And so, yes, it is preferential. Is it not?
No, it's not preferential on the terms of attraction. That is what if you are heterosexual, doesn't mean that you are having sex with the opposite gender every day. That's not what heterosexuality is. But when it comes to LGBT, everybody seems to think that it has to do with sex. And then you demean people to their sexual intercourse, which is not the case, because there are lots of lesbians and gays that choose not to have partners, like heterosexuals, that choose to be single or not to have any sexual intercourse. So you can't just look at somebody and say that because they come out to say they identify as this or that, that means that they are having this kind of sex or that kind of sex. Even for heterosexuals, you can't look at a heterosexual and know exactly how they behave in bed. And so this is just an infringement of people's right to privacy. If we are not, especially if you are not doing that to heterosexuals, and that is where you can even see clearly that there's so much inequality, even with the different sexual orientations and gender identities. At the end of the day, even with the intersex people who are born that way, are we going to arrest the baby or arrest the parents of the baby that is born with two different organs? And then what are we going to do if they make a wrong choice for the child and the child grows up and by puberty, his puberty and his male and his female, but is left with a male organ? Like what happens to these children? There are all these issues that have already been going on in the community. I've been doing this advocacy work professionally for about 9 years now. And every time all we're talking about is the violence and discrimination that has been meted out to the members of the community and even perceived persons. So let's not forget that this is even not just for LGBT people, but people who might be effeminate but are not gay, who might be effeminate and married to women or having or attracted to women. So how are you going to police people based on their forms of attraction? If somebody says I'm a man, I'm attracted to women, I mean, how do you judge that? How do you, at the end of the day, are you going to follow them until they decide to have sexual intercourse? And mind you, this bill all talks about bestiality, like you were reading earlier, which is nothing to do with the LGBT plus community. Bestiality LGBT plus rights has to do with consent with consenting adults. So I don't know how even the idea of bestiality came in, and that shows the ignorance they have about the community, and no form of engagement or scientific evidence was put, and real reasoning and rational thinking was put into this bill at all. And a lot of what people are saying about pedophilia and so on. Pedophilia has been so much in the heterosexual community, and especially incestual pedophilia. And why is there no bill? Why is there not an uproar about this? If we are so concerned about our children's safety, why is it that has not been a key issue? The rate of teenage pregnancy in so many societies, and nobody is saying anything about it. Don't we care? But rather we choose to discriminate and write a 36-page document against a marginalized group of consenting adults. This is not.
Okay.
This should not.
All right. I'll come back to you, Rosalind, because there are a few things I noted when you were making the submission. But let me introduce now Ras Mubarak. He's former member of Parliament for Kumbungu. He's joining our conversation. Ras, good afternoon. Thanks for joining us, sir.
Good afternoon.
Right. Ras, so we are having this conversation about the proposed bill on anti-LGBTQ plus activities and the like. And I have quite a number of guests who are not very enthused about what Parliament is proposing. I saw also you had put up a write-up which called out one of your own for want of a better word or expression, for holding double standards on the issue of homosexuality, because the people he represents appear to be against it, or a significant number of them appear to be against it, yet his submission suggested he may be a bit in favor of that. So, Ras, I'm sure you may have seen bits and pieces of this bill, or extracts of it at least. What do you think is the rationale behind it? And really, could we perhaps be taking a look at the concerns that have been raised so far and nuancing it? That is, even if there's need to have such a law in the first place.
Well, to begin with, the honorable member for Medina has clarified his position.
Yes, he has.
His position is that he's in support of the bill and that he's not against the bill before Parliament. So that has to be placed in perspective. The second, you see rising incidences of people trying to foist, their perverted view of what sexuality is on the people of Ghana. Every country has its cultural norms and rules and regulations. If you go to the West, there are certain things that they can't stand. Likewise, or in like manner, specifically Ghana should have in its statutes.
Ras, if you could kindly reposition yourself a bit, we would really be grateful, because we are finding it difficult really making out what you're saying. But still watching Opposing Views live on MX24 television. We've been discussing the issue of anti-LGBTQ plus, that bill, and whether or not it's a misplaced priority. We've had a lot of views so far. Ras Mubarak is a former member of Parliament for Kumbungu. He also has some rather strong views on the issue, suggesting that perhaps our setting does not really condone it. As we try to bring back Ras Mubarak onto the phone line so we can continue with the conversation, I'll read just a few of your messages. Quite a number of them are here already. I'll read just a few. Owusu Adepa NS says, Ghana, we have a long way to go. Then he comes with the broken heart emoji. Francisca Domitiero Zinio says, and who is also supporting you, One Love. There's nothing homophobic about people expressing their distaste against the practice. One Love, it's not about how long homosexuality has been in Africa. It's been with man since the beginning, but man has always accepted it as a taboo, and that is what it is. Okay, Francisca. Francisca goes on to say a few more There's also Vance Unusual says, wow. So there's a banter between Vance and Francisca also on Facebook. For those of you who are watching, perhaps you could also drop your comments there if you have views to share. We'll pick them up in a brief while. AC Eniwa, I also see your message here, as well as Olin. So we'll come to all of them in a brief while. But Rasmu Barak has rejoined us on phone. Ras, can you hear me now? Okay, Ras can't hear me, so I'll take a few more. Ras, can you hear me now? Hello, Ras.
Yeah. Okay.
Great. Now we can hear you. So let's hear you. You were making a point.
As I was saying, I mean, the bill is very forward-looking. It's progressive.
The bill is forward-looking and progressive, you say?
Very, very forward-looking and progressive.
I see.
If you take a look at aspects of the bill, that have been in contention by opponents, for instance, you have seen rising incidences of people, trying to open up offices in the country that promote LGBT activities. Clearly, we can't have that in our country, and prescribing laws that bring on punishment on people who openly, practice some of these things should not be seen as something negative. As far as I'm concerned, it is great. What this does is that any pastor who, for whatever reason, decides to officiate a marriage between gays and lesbians would find himself in trouble. Any medical doctor who
but why must a pastor find himself in such trouble when what the Bible says is what the Lord has put together, let no man put asunder? His is to put the two together. If they are convinced, they've prayed about it and they are convinced, be it of same sex or different sex, and they are convinced that they are meant to be together, and the pastor's job is only to make sure that before the Lord they are together. Why is he supposed to come under such scrutiny and face such sanctions?
Would you make that same argument if an armed robber came to a church and said, "Pastor, I've gone to rob a bank of this amount of money. I want you to pray over it."
But that's a different context.
It is not different because crime is crime. Before us, there are laws that frown upon it. You can't justify it.
So the issue has to do with why it is a crime for somebody who feels strongly that, yes, I'm a lady, I feel strongly attracted to a lady, and it is our preference. We say we want to be together. Why should that be a crime?
If a pervert feels strongly about having sex with his dog, would you say we should allow that? Because in this LGBTQI whatever,
but with the issue of the dog and the human being, it will be on the human being infringing on the rights of the dog. In this case, there are two human beings, two individuals who have consented to do something together. What is wrong with that?
They are part of the community, because you can't legislate on some other thing as far as this whole phenomenon is concerned, and not put in place far-reaching measures to ensure that in the future we're not having incidences in our country where pansexuals, for instance, are telling you that they can have, if somebody is a man, for instance, he's okay having sex with a man, with a woman, and with animals. Okay?
But Ras, question is, there are people in the country now who are married to 2, 3, 4, 5 people. It is not necessarily a reflection of society, for which reason everybody gets up and marries 2, 3, 4, 5 people. In like manner, if one lady or one gentleman decides to marry another gentleman or lady, it is not in itself something which will influence society to the extent that everybody will get up and say, because Kojo has married Yao, I also want to marry Kwesi. So again, in the context of the community, there's still a bit of a gap there. Don't you agree?
I don't agree.
Okay.
And when this bill is passed into law, platforms like yours, we should allow LGBT people to come and advance their arguments, would be inviting trouble, not just for the host, but probably for the not just for the presenters, but for the producers and everybody who's involved in making sure, people whose activities have been criminalized are given the platform to perpetuate, those acts of crime.
I see. So how does the law suggest or recommend, for instance, that persons engaged in same-sex activity in their room.
It's not lawyers. It's a draft.
No, okay, so how does this proposed law hope to identify and perhaps arrest and prosecute persons who are perhaps gays and are in their rooms doing whatever? How does the law?
I'm surprised you're asking this question. When people take on crime, say armed robbers, do they write boldly on their forehead that they are armed robbers? You only catch them in the act.
So if you are caught in the act.
So if you are caught in the act, if you are caught in the act, the law will deal with you. If you are promoting gay, bisexual, gender, pansexual, whatever, and you're caught, the law will deal with you. So if you're hiding in your room, the fact that the law hasn't caught up with you does not mean that, we shouldn't have laws in place that will deal with their activities that our society frowned upon.
So,
okay,
hypothetical situation. Myself and one of the Kubolo, we go for a show somewhere in Suhum. We book a hotel room, and then we go into that hotel room together. We are two guys. We decide to sleep on the same bed. And then when we step out, a police officer sees me holding one love's hand and says, "Hey, these people are gay," and then goes ahead to make a claim. Then what happens?
You're trivializing.
It's a possible hypothesis, and I think it's something maybe we need to look into.
And in any case, if you're not gay, you will have to prove you're not gay.
So the onus lies on whoever is prosecuting to prove that the person is indeed gay.
The thing is, everybody who is accused of or arrested for these activities will be taken through due process. And
okay.
I think you're jumping ahead of yourself in making some of these arguments.
Oh, no, we are only trying to make sense of the proposed law, and so we are looking at possible scenarios and how perhaps some of these things may play out.
You're not even talking about what is in the law. We should be talking about.
We have talked about it. We've done the first bit part. Yeah, we've done the first bit of the show, which highlighted the major portions of the law. But don't worry, there are a few guests of mine also who have been listening keenly to the conversation, and I must say that we are really grateful you've joined us though. Rosalind Mode is a board member for the LGBTQ Plus Rights Ghana. She's one of our guests. One of the Kubolo is an advocate for LGBTQ Plus Rights in Ghana. He is also on the line, as well as Alex Kofi Donko, the director for LGBTQ Plus Rights in Ghana. Maybe we could share a few words. Let's start with One Love. One Love, you've had some very strong points that the MP is making. And indeed, some would say he's made some cogent arguments. Wouldn't you agree? Okay,
somebody who has been appointed to protect. I find it very disappointing that somebody which has been elected to protect Ghanaian citizens is not doing their research before speaking and promoting things that will endanger our lives further.
Sorry, before you move on, he's a former member of parliament and also members of parliament. So they represent the constituencies. And if his constituents are firmly against something, he has every right to articulate those views. So
yes, but if he should know better and then inform his constituents to also be better people. Now, for someone to say pansexuals are also involved in bestiality and sleep with animals shows that he's very ignorant on the subject, and he needs to go and research all these things that he's using to bring hate and danger on people's lives. He really needs to know what he's talking about when he's speaking. And when you asked him, you see that he's getting in a certain mood.
Strong exception. I said pansexual, not pansexual.
Yes, he did say some.
I said strong.
He said what? You said pansexuals.
I wouldn't entertain the kind of
Russ. Just a second, Russ. As much as possible, we do not.
I would not be on a platform where somebody who doesn't even know what he's doing.
Russ. Just a second. One love. So the point is that we are. Russ. Just a second, please.
I wouldn't have that.
Russ, just a second, please. I'm saying that as much as possible, we are allowed to make our points, but they have to be devoid of insults or
there's no insults.
yes, but perhaps the use of the word ignorance at this point may not be something we would want to go on. So
Did he? Okay, let's go through this slowly. Did he say pansexuals are also?
he said,
taking,
I think he said some pansexuals, I think, if I heard him correctly.
But he didn't say that. He said pansexuals. Please,
Okay.
we can later
we can later check, but
and
I don't.
Making
I don't
that
recall exactly
statement means you are ignorant.
So hold on,
of
he's
what
still on.
pansexuals
Don't
are.
worry, Ras is still on, and so at least he. It's okay.
If I don't know who he is, but it is minded there's a difference between pansexuals and transsexuals.
Oh, transsexual.
Okay. So if it's minded, it should go.
So which one did he talk about?
Okay,
Which
don't
one
worry,
did he
So one of you make your point. Let's leave the pansexual and transsexual argument, and then
Okay,
let's.
when you intelligently put out that scenario of how would the police now arrest some, like me and you have gone into a room and we have come out. Now, how do you prove that, first of all, we had gay sex in the room? How do you monitor that? He could not answer because they are just moving with hate and they are not thinking these things through. Are you now going to be checking every Ghanaian citizen's anus? Is that what is going to be happening in Ghana now? What if I had constipation and I release a buntui the night before? Will you say because my anus muscles have been flexed from the buntui, so now I've had anal sex?
So
like,
I think the clarity the former MP gave was that usually it would require that you are caught in the act, or perhaps there would be investigation to.
And you asked him how, and he couldn't answer. He can't, because there's no way unless they put video cameras in everybody's bedroom. There's no other way to catch people having their private sex in their bedroom.
I see.
Do homosexuals and all of those people not do some of the acts quickly?
What do you say?
Do we not see people of the same sex kissing publicly? You see, this is a kind of loose argument that have been.
So if I hear you correctly, you're saying homosexuals display acts of affection for one another openly, and that could be basis.
It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be in the confines of their room.
Okay, so any such act which is displayed, which is open
that is
now.
one. If I may,
sure. Go ahead.
And secondly, there are instances where they are required, in filling a form or something, to describe their sexuality. If you were to go and fill a form and say you are gay or lesbian, obviously you would find yourself at the wrong side of the law. And that's why I gave you the example of criminals who in their criminal activities would do it under the cover of darkness. There's no criminal who would go out, perpetrating their activities openly. Occasionally you would have some people do that. Okay? But a lot of these acts of crime are done under the cover of darkness. Some may slip, some may be bold to say, they are gays or lesbians, and for which reason could find themselves at the wrong side of the law. Have we not had instances in this country where gays and lesbians have been brazen enough, to hold hands and kiss publicly? Have people not seen them and even taken video evidence of that?
So that's a good clarification you give.
Let me land on this.
Sure.
And that is why I said that whoever is arrested, perhaps he doesn't understand what due process is. Whoever is arrested would be taken through due process.
Okay.
So
it will be thoroughly investigated. So let's say someone or two persons have been spotted at a beach displaying affection for one another, and they may be of same sex. That then becomes basis for the arrest. Now, after they are arrested, they will have to go through the due process. Investigations are conducted and the like before such a thing can happen. Okay, one love. Does this convince you? Maybe this then suggests that, well, there's...
He moved there, does it. But I'm wondering, like, people who have lived in France, so like when two guys who have lived in France meet and they kiss each other at Alliance Francaise and they meet at Osu and they are kissing each other on the cheek, or when two Ghanaian men are chatting and we are holding hands and then we are doing the snap, hey, Charlie, long time, oh, Charlie, and just then putting my hand on the shoulder, walking together, oh, Charlie, or like, where do we where does it cross over to where these physical bodily contacts that we have been having from time immemorial become a gay act?
I think it's discretionary. I think it'll be discretionary at the discretion of the police.
Discretionary, and we are in
unless perhaps
a impoverished nation,
right,
where some police plant marijuana on people to arrest them falsely. So why can a police then not falsely accuse people of being gay and abuse this law? So it's very dangerous. And it's very endangering to us Ghanaians.
One Love is saying that there's a possibility then for people to take advantage of the proposed law and target persons they may even have personal vendetta with.
Well, we all have to, lend a hand and make sure that people do not abuse the law.
Oh, then some will say that we don't even need the law. If really we are going to do that, and then we still need everybody to find a way to protect the law, and then we may not even necessarily need it, or?
No, we need it because we have to be each other's keeper. Okay? Are you saying that because, people would commit acts of crime, for which reason we shouldn't prescribe the necessary laws that would deal with those kinds of crimes?
I see.
So the police not almost all the time ask the public to volunteer information on criminal activity?
That's true. Okay.
So I don't know why the question.
Okay. Ras, let me ask one though. There's a portion of the proposed bill which talks about persons such as myself, journalists, or anybody who may decide to use a platform like this or the internet to do anything which may be described as pushing the agenda, in quotes, pushing the agenda. So someone sitting back watching this show may find a way to suggest that Chenchain is doing this to push the agenda of LGBTQ plus persons, and so for that mere reason I may have to face jail time. Some would say this. I'm struggling to say the exact things I want to say, but really, how do we justify such a thing?
That there's a law
I'm doing a show like this, and I've put
there's a law that says you shouldn't, give your platform for criminals to promote their activities, and you decide to go ahead and give your platform to criminals to promote their activities. Obviously, you would have fallen foul of the law and would have to face the music. It's as simple as that.
So because I'm taking the views of persons who identify as homosexual, because of that, I can face jail time?
Because you are giving them a platform to promote their activities, which is illegal under our law. Would you give your platform to armed robbers or drug dealers, to come and, promote or justify why they are into crime? Right. If you would not, then this question does not arise.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Let's hear from Alex. Alex, you've heard the former MP there make these points. Do you have any questions for him? Maybe we'll take those few questions and then we'll get some reactions from social media and then call it a day.
Okay, there is a lot of questions that comes up in the submission that he made. Now, first of all, you talked about the Medina MP making a comment, and then he's saying that those in Medina that represent him there are against the expression or the comments that he made, and so he has come to clarify it. Honestly, I am also coming from Medina, right? I was born right in Medina, grew up in Medina, lived most of my life in Medina, and I do not ascribe to the idea of hate that is being pushed around. So are you going to dismiss me as his constituents representing me on the floor of parliament?
But that would be a majority of the constituents. That would be a majority of the constituents.
Yeah, I understand that it is the majority of the constituents that he is representing. But then again, to my existence as a constituency member, even though I'm in the minority, should not be subjected to my existence, or my existence should not be erased because I am a minority within this constituency.
Right.
I believe that he equally represents me in Parliament House, to which any law that he is proposing there should be to the betterment and the development of all of its constituents. Everybody needs to be considered in this law. All right. So that's where I will put in that regard, with regards to that. So he also mentioned about our culture and our norms and all of that. See, I don't think that we as a Ghanaian society would want to agree to the fact that because some people perceive that a certain culture norms is against homosexuality or LGBTQ persons, and for that matter, that should be the basis to which some Ghanaians will hate or antagonize other Ghanaians. If we want to go with that analogy, then I also want to.
Ras, just a quick one. Let him land, please. Alex, please land so Rasmus can respond to you.
Yes, if you want to go with that analogy, then we are already then it's clearly a recipe for disaster in a country where majority of the population think it is okay for them to attack and vilify and antagonize and abuse other people because they are in the majority and they think other people do not deserve to live in the society in which they are all part of. So that is it from that angle. Okay. And all we know, culture is dynamic. Culture has never been static. So we should not make it seem as though culture is the the underlying factor to which somebody's existence as a human being is placed on. Okay. And honestly, my existence as a human being, right, or my existence as a human being should not be the basis to which somebody would enact laws to take that life from me. Because our constitution guarantees each and everybody the right to life and the freedom of association and expression, all of those things, to which we uphold it as a country, to which I believe that Honorable is in even a better place to know all of these things. Okay. And one thing I will also say that, Honorable, you know that this law is not even a Ghanaian law. This is not a law that was put together by Ghanaians or an indigenous law. This is American far-right groups law. And they were in Ghana in 2019.
Let's not go there. It's okay. But you've made your point.
We need to know the genesis of this law.
Don't worry. We'll get to that. Let's hear from Ras Mubarak. Ras, you can respond to a number of things that were said earlier on, please.
Okay. Is that Alex?
Yes, that's Alex, yes.
Okay. So, Alex, first of all, it's the law that is a draft bill that is being put together by Ghanaians. The fact that you may find aspects of it, elsewhere, does not mean that it's not coming from a group of Ghanaians. Secondly, obviously, I believe you're a Christian, and you would know that man shall not live by bread alone, because you talk about, your MP concentrating on issues of development and what affects you. We have to uphold the culture. Experiencing currently is cultural imperialism, whether you like it or not. It is something alien to us. It is something that is being pushed to Africans by the West, who feel that their version of democracy is having to accept all of these things. Thirdly, if you really feel strongly about some of these things, then I would encourage you to run for public office. If you are opposed to what is happening in Parliament, I would encourage you, to run for public office and be able to, propose for laws to be enacted.
Okay. All right.
Fourthly, and very critically,
right,
the chiefs and opinion leaders represent the people, right? The Christian Council represents the Christian community in our country. Likewise, the Muslim, Council representing Muslims in our community.
Right.
All of them have spoken unequivocally against the rising incidences of LGBTQI plus activities in our country. And they have issued public statements in support of what honorable members are attempting to do. So, you being in a minority does not mean that your views are not being taken into consideration.
Right.
Why? If you are hungry and you don't have a job, would you justify the fact that, would you justify going to steal to fend for yourself? And finally, on his question, nobody has promoted hate. And I want him to quote just one aspect in the draft bill that says if somebody is LGBTI, go and beat up the person or go and burn their offices. Nobody is promoting hate against LGBTI. And that is why I emphasize time and again that persons who are accused or arrested for LGBTI plus activities would be taken through due process. That is the way we do things in a democracy. That is the way we do things in our country. You know, and it is very unfortunate that there is a subtle attempt to play victim. Oh, it is we and them, and that they are victimizing us, you know, that they are abusing us. Nobody has called for any LGBTI person to be abused or victimized. And I'm surprised that these arguments are being made. I'm surprised that they are being allowed to hold without any proof.
I see. Okay.
Whatsoever of the position that they are taking.
Okay, let's hear from Roslyn. Roslyn Mode is a board member for LGBTQ Plus Rights Ghana. Roslyn, do you have any questions for Honorable Ras Mubarak? Again, he sought to clarify a lot of things, and he suggested that it is not the case that the law is seeking to get people to gang up against homosexuals and beat them up once they meet them on the streets. No, it is only trying to bring some sanity into the space and allow persons to go with what, should I say, our traditions suggest to us, something of the sort. Okay, but let's hear you.
People based on their sexual orientation or gender identity for up to 10 years, that is a form of discrimination, huge discrimination, and that is also very abusive. It could traumatize people just for being who they are, who they were born, just the way they were born. That is not something that is out of care or love, or I mean, we should not try to deviate from this thing. At the end of the day, he is also comparing it to armed robbery and drug dealing and stuff. It's not with consent. If you are stealing from somebody, that is not with the consent of the person. We are talking about two consenting adults here. We are not talking about animals. We are not talking about pedophilia. We are not talking about stealing from somebody or raping or sexually harassing people. We are talking about consenting adults doing something in the privacy of their room. And even that one, it's not for everybody in the community. Identifying as lesbian or gay doesn't mean that you are having some kind of sex in your bedroom or you are with somebody. So why should people be jailed just for being who they are? And this is the thing that One Love is saying, that it's going to increase the state of violence and discrimination against the society. Let's look at all the other African countries even. There are many countries that did not even have the law in the first place, especially Francophone and neighboring Francophone countries. Has anything happened to them? Since they didn't have any law ever, since colonization, the French did not introduce that law. Has anything happened with their population? Are they in dire trouble? What other things? I mean, this has nothing to do with anything. And how does what two consenting adults do in their bedroom affect the state of the economy or affect the rate of infections of COVID-19 in our society? How does it affect anyone negatively in any way? To love somebody becomes a crime in this country. Why should we allow that to happen? At the end of the day, it's still very, very much discriminatory and against some of the treaties that some of our own presidents have signed with the UN and have agreed upon. As a part of the UN, there were resolutions signed since 2011, 2017, and so on. The UN has clear resolutions on sexual orientation and gender identity. And our presidents, from time immemorial, have always been party to this. So why are we pretending as if we've never been part of this? And this there's a part of the bill that mentions Vigilantism and Related Offences Act, which prescribe the formation of groups for the furtherance of the interests of group members by use of threat of violence or intimidation. When has the LGBT community ever instigated any form of violence or intimidation? That has been coming rather from the religious right. And we are seeing more of that with the formation of this bill. So why are they trying to project their hate as if it's coming from the LGBT community? And this is what we are talking about. They also make some fallacious statements about helping people living with HIV/AIDS and stating that 18.1% of the population of those living with HIV/AIDS are from the gay community. Even if those figures are true, then what about the 81.9%? Aren't they heterosexuals? Why aren't we doing something about that? And why is it that staggering less than 20% of the people living with HIV/AIDS in this country? And that is a bigger deal than the 81.9% of heterosexuals who are still spreading this virus. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me, and that is why it is nonsensical.
Okay.
It should not be this thing. At the end of the day, we can look so many countries, even in Africa. Let's not look at the West. South Africa has marriage equality. Are they developing, or are their rate of development depreciating? Mozambique, so many African countries are living okay without laws like discriminatory laws like this.
Okay.
So why do we think?
So let's hear from Ras now. So Ras, yes.
Okay. If I may respond to that, development is not only brick and mortar, and that is why time and again we encourage, the promotion of patriotism, volunteerism, and other things. So when people talk about development, it's not only brick and mortar, it's not only roads, hospitals, and other things. There are what we call the soft aspect of development. Promoting discipline, morality, and the rest of it.
Ras, sorry, your line is breaking. If you could again reposition yourself, we would really be grateful so we could hear you.
Great. Can you hear me now?
Actually, we can hear you now. Yes, we can.
Okay. What I was going to suggest is that if they strongly feel about the bill, but
okay.
Among other things that members of and therefore,
okay. We are struggling to hear Ras Mubarak there. It's rather unfortunate, but Ras Mubarak is a former member of parliament for Kumbungu, and he's been making some strong views, though. There are a few calls that have come in and a number of messages on WhatsApp. I think I want to open the phone lines now and allow people to share their views. We still have our guests on the line. If you have direct questions for them, you can also go ahead and ask them, and we'll be more than happy to get those responses for you. The phone numbers are 055-033-1511 and 0204738481. Let's go to Tamale. Tamara is on the line. Tamara, hi, good afternoon.
Hello, good afternoon.
Tamara, let's hear you, please.
Yes, I've been following this discussion, even though not from the start.
Right.
My question is, in Ghana, have there been any person who have been attacked or abused only because the person is LGBTQ+?
Quite a number, actually, yeah.
Yes, I know.
So my point is, the advocacy, like we're all saying, should be against this abuse, but not to compare whatever is happening with whether economy is doing well or it's not just culturally accepted. I listened to Alex, and Alex talked about culture is dynamic. So it means that we should start leaving women, men should leave women and marry men, and women should leave men and marry their colleague women. Is he saying that his language has
So Tamara, what essentially they are saying is that nobody is forcing anybody to do anything. However, do not tell me that I do not have the choice to go for option A or B just because you don't want option A or B. And so it should be allowed to function. Just do your thing and let me do my thing. Essentially, that is the argument they have been making.
They're allowing. That is why I first asked that. The allowing is that nobody has stopped somebody. But they themselves
this new proposed law seeks to stop them from doing such a thing.
I didn't get that.
I'm saying this new proposed law seeks to criminalize acts of homosexuality. And so, again, technically, it will mean that we are stopping them from doing what they feel like doing.
The law is coming because we don't want to celebrate it as a nation.
Okay, all right.
Otherwise, those advocates are already protecting people who are in the act.
Okay, thank you, Tamara.
And if they are in the act, what stops them in that act?
Okay, Tamara, thank you. I think Alex wants to respond to you. Alex, 30 seconds so we can go to the next caller. Festus is from Sydney West. He's also on the phone. Festus, you're coming in a brief... Oh, Cletus, rather. Sorry, Cletus. You're coming in a short while, but let's hear from Alex now. Alex, brief one.
Yes, the response to culture was actually directed to Honorable when he said that even our culture is against that.
Okay,
And
all
I'm
right,
telling
that's
him
fine.
that when it comes to culture, culture is
It's very
dynamic.
dynamic, and so it
And
can
that
change
culture
at any
even
point.
shouldn't be the basis to which somebody's existence as a human should be taken from him. So that was
Okay.
the point to which I was
All
making.
right, Alex, thank you. Cletus, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Cletus, let's hear your views.
Yes. From the look of things, I think the very group we are talking about are struggling for what we cannot comprehend. My point of view is that even animals do the right thing. Animals know that it is wrong to go after a male animal. Animals don't do this kind of thing. If everyone were left to do what he or she wants, I don't think there would have been law and order. Like everybody would, there would be madness, chaos in the whole world. Gradually, where we are getting to, if we allow these things to go on, in fact, at a point, there will be no laws wouldn't work. If they are talking about rights, have they been denied the right to eat? Have they been denied right to have shelter? Have they been denied right to speak? But what I am foreseeing is that the right they are demanding for, it is something that does not exist. And if it happens, in fact, Ghana, we can't accept that kind of thing.
Okay, Cletus, thank you.
Totally we are copying from the British, but we cannot copy everything from the British or from the Europeans.
All right.
They have their culture. We have our culture. So if they want, they should go up. They should go back to Europe and practice that thing, but not in Ghana.
Okay, Cletus, thank you. That was Cletus from Sene West. Let's go to Wa. Mankama is joining us from Wa. Mankama, good afternoon.
Yes.
Let's hear you, sir.
Good afternoon. Listen.
Right.
For me, my concern is that why should we compare ourselves to the foreign world when they are having their norms there and we are also having our norms and practices here? So can someone come from somewhere and come and speak for our whole country when we are having our leaders, both religious and moral leaders, who we follow? Our grandfathers uphold it. They don't like it. Not with that love. Let's do that every take and change the mystery to those so-called advocates who are so-called people who are advocating for this to happen in our life. We can remember Sodom and Gomorrah. What happened to them?
Okay, all right. Mankama, thank you. Thank you very much. That's Mankama from Wa. Let's go to Sablogu. Malik is joining us. Malik, good afternoon.
Thank you very much.
Let's hear you, Malik.
Okay. Yeah, what I have to say is that I think I'm totally against these people giving them that space because human existed before they got to know that we have rights. And they've not been denied. That's my other brother just said. Now, the danger is that most of these people, this thing they are going to practice, they are going to resort to, adapting other children.
Malik, can you kindly turn down the volume of your television?
All right.
Because you're getting some really bad feedback. Thank you very much.
Most of them end. All right, I've done that.
Right, great.
Most of them end up, adopting children. And the danger is that they end up in, training these children into this thing. So you are going to have in the next 5 years, our society is going to be poised with these people all over.
I see.
This thing we are saying, we think we are just denying them a few things. My brother, trust me, if they allow these people to operate as they sought to do, they are going to infiltrate every corner of the country, and that is how we do.
Okay, Malik,
already they have their source of funding from outside.
Malik, thank you. If you say, but I'm a bit worried when we say these people. They are brothers and sisters, except that you don't seem to subscribe to their views on certain things. But it doesn't make it a me versus them situation. We are one people. So the these people arguments, hopefully we can tone that down a bit. Aziz is joining us from Gushegu. Aziz, let's hear you.
The thing is that I'm talking to the lady. She said the white people, like their economy and a whole lot. They are UN. Let me ask, is Saudi Arabia not part of UN? Is Saudi Arabia not part of UN?
Make your point.
Her
point is this, and so if you would
Saudi
allow
Arabia
me, Aziz, just a second,
UN,
Aziz,
and they don't take LGBTQ.
Aziz, what Rosalind had mentioned was that the focus is not so much on preference, sexual preference or sexual rights per se. Now, it is on other things which will contribute to the growth and development of a country. And her point was, how does a country criminalizing homosexuality improve on the country's management of, say, COVID-19 or management of the economics, to suggest that maybe the dollar is now 1 cedi to $1, something of the sort. That is her argument. And so we should not major in the minors. Let's focus on that which we need to focus on, and not so much on things that do not require so much of our attention like this. But of course, you make your point.
Okay. So, like the way they are saying, these countries, they are developed. So we can't be comparing ourselves to them. And moreover, moreover, some of them, they don't believe in spirituality.
Okay.
But you know that some things are there. It comes with a lot of spiritual backing.
Okay.
When you are into this, it will get you into trouble.
Okay.
So why should we even accept it at the first place?
Okay, Aziz, thank you for your thoughts. That's Aziz from Gushegu. Let's go to 37. Farouk is joining us. Farouk, good afternoon.
Hello, my name is Francis.
Oh, Francis, sorry. Francis, let's hear you, please.
Yeah. I think we are actually discussing a very nice topic this afternoon. But my first question to them is, I want to find out, is any of them married? Those who are against the law, is any of them married? That's my first question.
Okay, kindly hold on.
And
three guests on the line, so maybe we will start with One Love. I know One Love has a number of children. One Love, are you married? Caller wants to know. Oh, One Love is off. Okay, Rosalind, how about you? And then Alex, maybe you are next after Rosalind.
I don't know where this question is coming from or how it has anything to do with the law. So I would.
Okay, you defer that. Okay, that's fine. Alex, do you care to answer to that question by the caller?
Yeah, I think I would equally go with Rosalind's analogy.
Okay, that's fine.
That the conversation is not about marriage.
It's not relevant.
It's about marriage.
Okay.
Good.
So Francis, yes.
My next question, I want to find out: do they have children? Have they by any way given birth?
Okay, I think they would go back to the same answer.
The same answer.
It has not got much to do with the topic at hand, has it?
That's what exactly this law is all about.
Okay.
That's what exactly this law is all about. See, when somebody has gotten the means of bringing you to life, and you feel like, okay, as I have come, nobody should come again. You see, you are also infringing on somebody's right, which you are supposed to bring onto this earth. You are saying that now, when my mom and my parents have brought me to this life, I am not going to allow anybody to come again. So you should also ask yourself, are you also aware that you're also infringing on somebody's right? So preventing somebody also from coming. That's also what you're also doing. That's what you're also doing to somebody. When you feel like
how do you infringe on someone's right? Not to have children.
Okay. Right.
I would like to ask the caller, please, because at the end of the day, there are a lot of heterosexual couples that choose not to have children. There are a lot of heterosexual couples that are unable to have children, maybe out of old age or out of reproductive issues. And are we saying that because of that they are less human, or they are less Ghanaian, or they are I don't know what this man means.
You
and I feel like a lot of people
they couldn't have access to, but you have access to that.
Right.
And you
That's
are
fine.
saying because of what you feel, because of your right, you are not going to do it. That's what is the issue.
Okay, all right, that's fine. Francis, thank you. That was Francis from 37. There are a few messages on WhatsApp and also on the Facebook channel at MX24GH. That's the handle, MX24GH. I'll share a few, and then we can hear from Alex also. There are still a few calls coming through. Alex is joining us from Northeast region. Let's pick him first and then go to our dashboard on Facebook for some comments. Alex, good afternoon.
Hello.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, good afternoon. My name is Alex from North East Region.
Right, let's hear you, Alex.
Yeah, I also want to contribute, and my contribution is I want to know if whether we know the reason why God created Adam and Eve, but not Adam and Adam alone. If we are saying we should allow homosexuality and lesbianism and male to male, female to female, what do we call God? Because God thought it very wise and said Adam should not live alone, but Adam should have an opposite sex.
That is a religious belief. That is not a general
So Ghana, we shouldn't allow those things to be happening. If those things are going to be happening, the peace we are having, we shouldn't forget that it's God that gave the peace to us. If we are going to compare ourselves to the Western countries and other countries that are practicing those things and their economics is very good, we are going to hurt ourselves one day, because there are things that are happening in the Western countries that are not happening in Ghana.
Okay.
We have been hearing a lot of things fighting in Western countries and other things, but Ghana, we are peaceful. So because of those things, if we allow those things to happen in this country, many things are going to rain into the young ones that are yet to grow up. We are all young and we are yet to grow up. We are going to give birth, and many things are going to happen. So I don't think those things are necessary for us to tolerate them in Ghana here.
Okay.
Thank
All
you
right.
very much.
Alex, thank you so much for your call. We'll pick a final call. In fact, okay, no more calls, I'm told. So I'm going to give the last word to both Alex and Rosalind. Kindly indulge me. Let me read a few messages from our viewers, because they've been sending them for quite a while now. So I would just like to read a few of them. Let's come here. Vance Unusual says okay. There's a banter on Facebook. I don't know what's going on, but there's a serious banter over this same issue. Olins Yao Prekum model says, hey, blowjob the dead they say. Okay, Olins, and he is making reference to a provision in the proposed bill which criminalizes things such as blowjobs and the like, and the use of sex toys, even in heterosexual relationships. Gertrude Omari says, ask that girl to change her name to Kofi. Okay, so I think you are referring to who, Rosalind. That okay. I don't know where that's coming from though. One, they should, again from Gertrude Omari says, they should remember that they can never, 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 and never change God, the creator of this world, no matter how they do. Why don't they stop the oxygen they take in? Okay, Gertrude, thank you for your comments. Jake Adombre says, so far as I feel distasteful to portions of the bill, Chenchaini kindly ask One Love if he slept with his colleague man to give birth to those his beautiful children. Tell them to return the money they took from the gay community. The bill will be passed if they go ahead to bleed profusely. Okay. I'm not aware One Love or any of the other persons we've been speaking to has taken any money. I seriously doubt they have. I want to believe they are persons of integrity, just as yourself. You are a person of integrity, sharing these comments. Gertrude Omari sent another message. See you. So why do you go and get sperms from the opposite sex to get pregnant? Madness on some people thinking they are wiser than God, the creator of all this world. Okay, as much as possible, we try not to say things that are offensive to one another. So please. Francisca Domitiru Zinel says, you see the problem? Rights must be pursued to the end. I think that's what you're trying to say. Pursued to the end. If it is your right for any sexual preference, then they should have no desire for children or procreation, because by their sexual preference, procreation is not possible. Okay. AC Eniwa says, not this man that was physically and emotionally abusing his wife have an opinion about queer people. LOL. Is abusing your spouse a Ghanaian value? Disgusting. Okay. So I think you are making reference to the issue of Ras Mubarak. He's come out to deny those allegations, and we've not heard a lot more about it. So I would really hope that you don't even delve into that. Do armed robbers have an association which have come out to say we want to be recognized? Okay, I guess this was in relation to a question I had asked of the former MP. Vance Unusual says, did I hear the former minister or former member of parliament rather comparing armed robbers to homosexuals? Really? Okay. Frida Kobia says, you can never alter or change anything about those people, be it genetically, psychologically, mentally, or biologically. So after the 10 years, what then? they come out to worsen because you can't take nature out of a person in the name of reformation. Imagine being deprived of sex for your entire life. Just imagine that. Those people can't even have an erection, even in the midst of 10 naked girls. You think someone should wish to be hated when he or she can actually stop this act? Okay. I think it goes on to say a few more. Frida again says, so basically religious people see this act as... oh, sorry, I think I may have missed it. See this... Okay, I think I may have lost it. Sorry. A.C. Batel says, how can you make such comparison between robbery and same-sex? So robbery crimes and same-sex crimes. Seems some legislators do not make their arguments clear. Frida says it's funny how this guy gets the effrontery to call out people as being emotional when this whole bill is based on emotions, hate, religious sentiments, and bogus bigotry. Well, media, I wish it is passed. They shouldn't even change anything. They should just pass it so that God will open the heaven gate for Ghana to be blessed like Europe, USA, and others. God hates LGBTQ people. So certainly when we criminalize it, he will be pleased to bless us so that we don't go and borrow money from countries that support and even protect LGBTQ plus people to pay salaries of government workers in this country. So I get the pun there. Okay, quite a number of messages. I'm not sure we'll be able to read all of them. And so we would have to end it here. But I'll take two comments. In fact, I'll take brief comments from Alex, Kofi Donko, and Rosalind. Let's start first with Alex. Alex, 30 seconds, please. We've run out of time. 30 seconds.
Yes, thank you so much. So one thing I would want to say, because Francis made a comment about like children, right? And honestly, as a society, we are here and there is a lot of like street children, like walking on the streets with no basic amenities afforded to them. So if indeed our focus is on children, I would admonish that we concentrate on the already ones that are existing, to which they are not even provided basic amenities to live even as humans. Let's provide those services for them. Let's treat children walking on the streets even as late as 12 and 1 a.m. Let's provide services for them. Those lying on the street with no shelter to cover them. Let's provide services from them. Otherwise, then it is only coming from a place of subjecting the LGBT community to disrepute. And honestly, there are LGBTQ people who have children. And childbirth is not limited to heterosexuals alone. And the fact that somebody is an LGBTQ person doesn't make the person impotent. The idea of childbirth is as a result of choice. That choice is being given to everyone to choose whether to want to have children or not to have children. And so let's look at it from that angle.
Thank you,
so
Alex.
The last thing that I would want to say here is that let's be careful as a nation not to divide ourselves and discriminate against ourselves. LGBTQ persons, we all know, if you're going to be honest, have existed with us all over society. What we are seeing is the constant abuse of LGBTQ persons, and we keep saying this and we are being dismissed. There are video evidence of abuses that goes on every day. There were others without video evidence. We are talking about this. Let us tell you the abuses and the challenges we are going through, and let's find solutions to all of these challenges.
Great, thank you, Alex. Let's hear from Rosalind now. Rosalind, 30 seconds, please.
Thank you. I would like to address this rhetoric about Adam and Eve and God and all that. That is based on personal beliefs, which people have the right to believe, but it's not based on fact. That is not how man was made. That is a personal religious belief. And so they should stop using that as a basis to discriminate against other people. Ghana is not a Christian country, I'll state again. At the end of the day, I also like to mention that all these countries that we do borrow the money from, a lot of our MPs visit countries in the West and have seen how they live their lives with LGBT people free from criminalization. And that has not caused any form of worry to anybody there. Rather, it has brought better livelihoods, enhanced more diversity in society, where we have people like Ellen DeGeneres contributing to society, and even being honored by Barack Obama, the president of Ghana, for her even for coming out as a lesbian within the entertainment industry. We have so many other renowned people in the music industry, the creative industry, all over the world. Even some have tried to stand up for the presidential race in America, in so many other countries. And that happened with the last election, even, where we had the first gay man to stand for the presidential race. And this is a country that is developing in so many ways. Just because they don't criminalize it doesn't do anything to anybody. And so we have to be careful about how we deal with these issues and not take it from a personal level. Or an emotional level.
Thank you so much, Rosalind. My guests for today have been Rosalind Mould, a board member with the LGBTQ plus rights Ghana, Humanist International. Also, One Love the Kobolo, an advocate and LGBTQ plus rights in Ghana. And Alex Kofi Donko, director, LGBTQ plus rights in Ghana. We were also joined on phone by Rasmu Barak, member of parliament for Kumbungu. Reverend Opuni Frimpong did join us, but had to go off subsequently because he had stepped into a different session. But thank you for watching this rather extended version of the show. 2 hours it has been, and it's come by so quickly. But we are thankful to you that you took time off to watch today's edition of Opposing Views right here on MX24 television. My name is Kwabna Chenchaini Boating. The show was produced by Marie-France Fojo with support from NSN Anudovlo as well as Jonah Eledi. Many thanks for watching.
Unique, contemporary, engaging. Introducing the ultimate talk show that captures, scrutinizes, and stirs up conversations around relevant content